Christopher Nolan's Interstellar is a modern retelling of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. In this video, I'll uncover the hidden connections and reveal just how deeply these stories connect. After this, you'll never see Interstellar the same way again. Let's start off with some context for each story. The Divine Comedy is a three-part epic poem written in 14th century Italy by Dante Alighieri, best known for its first section, Inferno, often referred to as Dante's Inferno. The poem details his allegorical journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise, or heaven. Then we have Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan. It's a sci-fi epic that blends emotional depth with scientifically grounded concepts. Beyond the science fiction, it explores philosophical questions about time, love, and the survival of humanity. So, how are these connected? We'll break it down step by step to reveal just how closely the core elements of these stories align, beginning with a few key comparisons. We begin each character's journey in a similar way. For Dante, the opening lines of Inferno are, "Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a dark wood." Here, Dante mentions his age, which is middle age, and sets the scene, a dark and strange forest. After the initial backstory in Interstellar, Cooper's real journey also starts in the midpoint of his life, when he discovers the secret NASA base, which he finds in the woods at night. Interestingly enough, that's the only time we see a forest in the whole movie. Up until that point, the landscape is dominated by farmland, so the sudden shift to the forest creates an otherworldly effect. This was a deliberate choice by Nolan. He went as far as planting 500 acres of real corn in Alberta, Canada, in an area that hadn't previously been used for farming, and even had new access roads built, instead of using an existing crop location somewhere in the Midwest. This was a big undertaking, so it's likely he had a good reason for doing this. Now, if we focus on middle age is a major theme in Interstellar because the characters are literally racing against time. It's especially relevant when it comes to his daughter Murph, who becomes Cooper's main reason for wanting to get back home. We see Murph go through 3 distinct stages in her life, and it's worth noting that her biggest breakthrough happens in her middle age as well. This is when she has her big breakthrough, figuring out how gravity works across dimensions. So, now both characters are in the Dark Wood, this new unexpected place. Here, they are also confronted by non-human guards who won't let them explore this new place freely. Dante by the beasts, and Cooper by Tars. At this point, Dante and Cooper are reunited with their old mentors. Dante with Virgil, the Roman poet who wrote the Aeneid and stood as a symbol of reason and wisdom to Dante, and Cooper with his former professor, John Brand. Both mentors will be their guide in this new place going forward. Quickly upon entering this new place, we are hit with the same message: "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." These are the very first words inscribed on the gates of hell at the beginning of Dante's journey. This is also Professor Brand's message to Cooper due to the blight. He lets Cooper know plainly, no matter what you grow or where,
your daughter's generation will be the last to survive on Earth.
The message is clear. This is not a place of hope. For hope, we must go elsewhere. Both Virgil and Dr. Brand tell our characters that the only way to be saved is to leave this place.
We're not meant to save the world. We're meant to leave it.
Again highlighting the hopelessness of this place and the need to literally ascend to the stars. For Dante, before entering hell, he sees the light in the sky that he needs to cross hell to ascend to, which is heaven. One important aspect to understand about the Divine Comedy is how Dante envisions heaven. Unlike the modern image of heaven, clouds, golden gates, a stairway, and harps, Dante places heaven in space. He structures it as a series of spheres with each level corresponding to one of the known planets in our solar system, and souls are assigned to these planets based on their virtues and earthly lives. Dante's exploration of heaven literally requires him to ascend into space just like Cooper, who needs to search the planets of the previous Lazarus mission in order to find a new home for the people of Earth. By this point, our characters know that they must undertake a long and dangerous journey. For Dante, he must literally go through hell and then make the difficult climb up Mount Purgatory before he is able to reach his goal. As for Cooper, he must embark on the Endurance mission, which, as the name implies, will be a long and difficult road. At the lowest point in Inferno, Dante encounters the main villain of the story, Lucifer himself. Now, if you haven't read Dante's Inferno, you might be surprised to know that the very worst part of hell is not the fiery, chaotic landscape that we're used to seeing, but rather a land of ice. This is where Lucifer has been trapped all these years, frozen in place. Now cut to Cooper, entering the low point of his story and the place where we find the main villain of Interstellar, man's planet. A planet that is constantly cold and frozen, including the clouds. This gives it a jarring look. At many times, it looks like up is down and down is up. Interestingly enough, Dante experiences this same issue when passing through the lowest part of hell. For Dante, when he is climbing out of the last circle of hell, there is an odd moment where up becomes down, creating a disorienting moment where gravity flips. Nolan gives us this same feeling with the frozen sky of man's planet looking like the ground. Now, if we take things further, we can see that Dr. Man and Lucifer have very similar stories. Both are former heroes and leaders in their past lives.
You once said that Dr. Man was the best of us.
He's remarkable, and we're only here because of him.
Which adds a layer of tragedy to their villainy. Another thing to note is that for each layer of hell, there is a specific sin attributed to it. For the frozen world of man's planet and Lucifer's circle, the sin is the same: betrayal. So now we will connect how these stories wrap up and meet at the end in a way too closely matched for coincidence. Once Dante and Virgil reach the top of Mount Purgatory, it's time to ascend into heaven. Unfortunately for Dante, Virgil can no longer guide him. This is because Virgil cannot enter heaven because he lived before Christ and was not baptized, so his soul remains bound to limbo despite his virtue, which Dante does not take well. At this point, Dante is met by Beatrice, who will now be his guide in heaven as they go through the spheres in space. Beatrice has appeared in Dante's work before when he wrote La Vita Nuova, a collection of poems and prose blending love poetry with storytelling about his relationship with her. For Cooper, it is revealed that Professor Brand has died and that he had been deceiving them all along. There was never any real plan A.
He never even hoped to get people off the earth. No.
At this point, Cooper is forced to choose between the path of reason, which would mean sticking with the philosophy of Professor Brand and Dr. Mand, or the path of love, with Amelia Brand, who is Professor Brand's daughter, as well as following his love for Murph. Unlike Dante, Cooper has two female guides in Interstellar, but they both still have themes of love. Let's focus on Dr. Mand's understanding of love from a scientific point of view.
Love isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful. It has to mean something. Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand. Maybe it's some evidence, some artifact of a higher dimension that we can't consciously perceive.
This concept of love is what makes Brand want to go to Edmund's planet over Man's planet, when it was still being decided on which planet is more likely to be hospitable. With these new guides, both Dante and Cooper are being pulled into the direction of love over pure reason. At this point, both characters have reached the point of no return. Dante has left his ordinary life on Earth behind, and now his only options are purgatory or hell, unless he's willing to follow love, embodied by Beatrice, into the unknown. Up until the moment Cooper enters the black hole, everything he does is driven by human logic. Physics, engineering, problem solving, it's all grounded in what we understand and can control. But once he ejects from the Endurance and enters Gargantua, he steps beyond the limits of known science. At this point, he loses control. There's no guarantee he'll survive and no way to predict what will happen next. You could even say he's faced with three choices: hell, purgatory, or his heaven, returning to Earth in time. The closest planet, Man's world, is a frozen hell. There's also the option of spending his remaining time with Brand, not freezing to death, but still stuck in an in-between state, a purgatory where he can't go back home. Or he can follow love into the unknown, taking a leap of faith. Cooper's choice is driven purely by love, specifically his love for Murph, but it's also shaped by Brand's idea that love is more than just an emotion, it's a quantifiable force. Together, their love acts like a compass he must follow. Before we go any further, I want to expand on how Dante portrays heaven. In the Divine Comedy, Dante journeys through the planets of the Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the fixed stars, which can be viewed as deep space beyond our solar system. Although the Divine Comedy is rooted in Catholicism, Dante's vision of the universe still follows the Aristotelian and Ptolemaic model. Though there is another part of heaven that brings us back into interstellar territory and relates to Cooper's current situation, and that is the sphere of the primum mobile, which we will view as our black hole, our gargantua. Dante describes this sphere as incredibly swift and powerful, almost beyond human comprehension. In Dante's vision, the primum mobile is the boundary between the physical cosmos and the purely spiritual, transcendent reality. It's the last moving sphere, but beyond it is a realm where physical motion, space, and time no longer exist as we know them. At this point, Dante and Cooper throw themselves completely into the transcendent. For Dante, crossing beyond the primum mobile means entering the Empyrean, the realm beyond space and time that we cannot see. It is the dwelling place of the angels and the immediate presence of God outside of the known and knowable universe. Dante enters this transcendent realm and surrenders to whatever awaits him, fully at the mercy of the divine. As for Cooper, he enters the black hole and is ejected into the unknown, a moment of surrender, though less intentional than Dante's. He too crosses into a realm beyond the known and knowable universe. Like Dante, Cooper is met by higher dimensional beings, mysterious entities in Interstellar who exist beyond space and time. These beings save Cooper and TARS, and they construct a three-dimensional environment within their higher dimensional reality, a tesseract, allowing Cooper to perceive, comprehend, and ultimately communicate with Murph across time. If perceived in the medieval mind, they could be seen as angels or even God. It's also clear that TARS perceives them as beings as well, or at least describes them as such.
He survived.
Somewhere in their fifth dimension, they saved us.
What the hell is they? And just why they want to help us, huh?
I don't know, but they constructed this three-dimensional space inside their five-dimensional reality to allow you to understand it. They didn't bring us here to change the past.
Say that again.
They didn't bring us here to change the past.
Notice how TARS consistently refers to the bulk beings as they, giving them agency, like conscious entities. He talks about them closing the tesseract and interacting with our reality in ways that benefit us. It's clear he perceives or at least describes these higher dimensional forces as deliberate beings acting with intention. There is also an interesting comparison here between TARS and Saint Bernard. Saint Bernard was a 12th century French abbot and theologian that appeared in the later cantos of Paradiso and intercedes with the Virgin Mary to ask her to grant the final grace necessary for Dante to behold the Empyrean. TARS serves the same function as a vital bridge of understanding between Cooper and the higher dimensional beings that created the Tesseract, in a way that Cooper couldn't have done on his own. Like Dante's encounter with the divine, Cooper's experience is only made possible by the grace or technology of beings far beyond his comprehension. Both figures are transformed by their contact with the transcendent, and both return with knowledge meant to save humanity. This is where the Divine Comedy and Interstellar align most, at their climaxes. Both Dante and Cooper arrive at the end of their journeys guided by the same ultimate force: love. Here is where we see the big change in our characters, especially Cooper. As I mentioned, for his whole life he operated on reason and logic. Now that he is within the Tesseract, he needs to figure out what to do. It is here where he chooses to follow love, motivated by his love for Murph and inspired by Dr. Brand's belief that love is quantifiable. By embracing love, Cooper uses it as a force that transcends the dimensions of space and time. This act ultimately saves humanity from the blight, solves the problem of gravity, and allows him to return to Murph. Later it is revealed that Edmund's planet was the only hospitable option, and Brand's choice to follow love proved to be the correct choice after all. To close, Dante finishes his journey in Paradiso's last canto by finally seeing God and realizing that love is what moves the sun, the stars, and the whole universe. As Dante famously says in Paradiso Canto 33, "L'amor che muove il sole e altre stelle," or the love that moves the sun and the other stars. After traveling through hell, purgatory, and heaven, Dante sees that love is the answer to everything he has sought throughout his journey. Dante used poetry to express the inexpressible, what it means to stand in the presence of the eternal and see the hidden guiding force of the universe. Nolan, in Interstellar, does the same but with visuals and science fiction. Both works, in their own way, show love as something bigger than we currently understand. The force that connects and moves things that we see and even things that we can't. If you like this video, consider subscribing. There are more like this coming soon. Thanks for watching.